Hey buddies, welcome to Movie Voiceover. Today, I am going to explain a scientific film called After Earth. Get ready guys, it's time to begin. The premise of the movie is set far in the future when the Earth has become uninhabitable. Humans have to find another planet to settle upon. That is when the organization called the United Ranger Corps is founded. The United Ranger Corps is a global military effort in the evacuation of the Earth. The Rangers lead the settlement of mankind's new home called Nova Prime. The exodus ends when humanity settles on a new pristine planet they call Nova Prime. The only problem is that the planet already has beings living on it. The natives of Nova Prime release monstrous creatures called the Ursas to get rid of the human settlers. The Ursas are technically blind, but they can detect humans by sensing the pheromones that the human brain releases when they are scared. The creatures can literally smell fear in humans and attack. Because of them, humankind is again in danger of extinction. 1,000 years later, the Rangers who had helped humans to evacuate the Earth find a way to defeat the Ursas. The Prime Commander Cypher Raige creates a technique called ghosting where he can fearlessly battle with the Ursas, making himself practically invisible to them. Using this technique, the Rangers defeat the Ursas and live on Nova Prime peacefully. The scene cuts to some teenagers training to become Rangers in the human settlement of Prime Nova. One of the ambitious teens is Commander Cypher's son Kitai. Kitai's elder sister Senshi was killed while trying to save him from an Ursa, so he trains hard every day to become a ranger and fight them. On the evaluation day, the evaluator, Commander, tells Kitai that his test scores are impressive but his field activity is average. Hence, he is not selected as a ranger. Kitai retaliates, but Commander dismisses the conversation. In the following scene, we see the Prime Commander Cypher finally arrive home after his expedition to another planet. He meets his wife Faia and greets her. At night, the family is having dinner when Cypher asks Kitai about his training. Kitai replies he hasn't been selected and Cypher simply asks him to try harder. Kitai rudely gets up from the table, making Cypher yell at him to sit back down. After dinner, Cypher tells Faia that he is leaving for his last voyage to Ephetos to train some rangers. He plans to retire after the trip. Faia asks him to take Kitai with him so he could learn how to be a ranger. She vaguely reveals that Kitai blames himself for his elder sister Senshi's death. The following day, Cypher and Kitai prepare to leave for the expedition. Before they leave, Cypher is approached by a ranger who has lost one of his legs in battle. The ranger thanks Cypher for saving his life and gets on his foot to salute him. Kitai watches the commotion in fascination, admiring how the other rangers respect his father. The rangers are also lifting a captured Ursa in their ship to use in training. Everyone boards the spaceship and it finally takes off. Halfway in their trip, Cypher asks Kitai to strap in and take a rest like the others. But because of the uncomfortable seat, he doesn't fall asleep. So, goes to a restricted area where the Ursa is kept. He is then stopped by a ranger who makes fun of him for being intrusive. A group of rangers allows him to go near the restrained Ursa to see if he is fearless like his father. But the Ursa smells Kitai's fear and growls. Just then, Cypher wakes up and checks the gravitational force in the ship using a technology fitted in his ring. He notices something is off and orders the rangers to secure all cargo. Kitai goes back to his seat and straps himself in. Cypher then asks the pilot about the nearest asteroid shower. At first, the pilots do not detect one, but as time passes by they notice a heavy asteroid shower coming their way. It hits the ship, making it shake aggressively and causing some serious damage to it. The rangers start to panic and the only one strapped in is Kitai. He hyperventilates, scared of what is about to happen. Cypher orders the pilots to travel to the wormhole, and they finally reach outside the asteroid shower. However, the ship is heavily damaged and cannot go on for a long time, so they will have to land on the nearest planet suitable for humans. While searching for such a planet, the pilot comes across the Earth. Cypher is skeptical about landing on their old home because the Earth has become a Class 1 quarantine planet after humans' departure, but has no other way out. As the ship falls on the Earth's surface at an uncontrollable speed, Cypher approaches his son and calms him down. Kitai gets visions of the time they were attacked by an Ursa and his sister Senshi was killed. Just then, the ship starts to break, causing everyone around Kitai to fall off it. At last, Kitai falls unconscious and crash lands on the surface of the Earth. Humans have returned to Earth after 1,000 years. After a while, he wakes up and looks around to find the dead bodies of fellow rangers. He also sees his father lying limp on the ground and hugs him. To Kitai's surprise, Cypher gains consciousness and greets him, but both of his legs are severely injured, making it impossible for him to stand up. Cypher asks him how many people survive, only to find out that everyone except Fortham is dead. Moreover, the rear part of the ship is absent, meaning that the captured Ursa has landed somewhere else. Cypher believes that the creature might be dead from the impact, but still asks Kitai to be careful. Cypher makes Kitai get an emergency beacon that can be used to send signals to a rescue group in Prime Nova, but they are disappointed to see that the beacon is fully damaged. Then, Kitai takes Cypher to the control panel, which is still working. From there, Cypher finds out the location of the second beacon that is in the tail section of the ship. A hologram shows that the second beacon has landed 100 kilometers away from their current location. Without the beacon, they will never be able to get back home, so they will have to retrieve it. But since Cypher is not in a condition to walk, Kitai will have to do it himself. Cypher warns him about the creatures of the Earth who have evolved to kill humans in the past 1,000 years. The journey will not be easy for Kitai, but Cypher will be watching him and his trails from the control panel at all times. Cypher gives Kitai his weapon, a wrist communicator, and 6 capsules of a fluid that enhances the oxygen intake so he can breathe in Earth's low oxygen atmosphere. He asks Kitai to take the capsules in regular intervals and sets him off for his journey. Starting his journey, Kitai climbs a sloppy hill and reaches the top. There, he is fascinated to see several lives on the Earth. The Earth now has violent thermal shifts because of which the nights are too cold to handle. Hence, Cypher advises Kitai to reach the hot spots caused by the geothermal energy every night to keep himself warm. After that, Cypher checks the condition of his legs and sees that they are severely damaged. He takes a painkiller for the moment, which makes him go hazy. By midday, Kitai reaches a forest when Cypher notices a creature approaching him from the monitor. He informs Kitai of the creature and asks him to stay put. The animal turns out to be an evolved violent monkey. Kitai gets scared and throws a rock at the animal, attracting a group of monkeys who chase him. A worried Cypher gives him the directions as Kitai runs for his life. The monkeys leave him after he jumps into a river. Kitai finally stops running and finds a poisonous leech stuck to him. He hurriedly removes the parasite, but the creature has already left its venom in his body. Kitai starts to lose his vision and his body stops moving. Cypher orders him to get an antidote from his medical kit. Kitai injects the dose and falls unconscious right after. After a while, Cypher wakes Kitai up saying that the temperature is dropping rapidly as night approaches. He will have to get to a hot spot quickly if he doesn't want to freeze to death. Kitai wakes up, completely healed from the leech's poison, and makes his way forward. Meanwhile, Cypher performs a make-do surgery on his legs to make them better, but he knows that he doesn't have much time left. At that moment, he reminisces about the time he wished his daughter a happy birthday before her death. A while later, Kitai finally arrives at the first hotspot. He checks his equipment for the day and sees that 2 capsules of liquid that enhance his oxygen level are destroyed. This means that he will have to reach his destination sooner. Knowing that Cypher will ask him to return if he finds out about the broken vials, Kitai lies saying everything is intact. At night, Kitai asks Cypher how he discovered the ghosting technique for the first time. Cypher tells him that he was going on a run when an Ursa appeared right in front of him. A scared Cypher froze and the Ursa shot its pincer right through Cypher's shoulder, making the both of them fall into a river off the cliff. At the bottom of the river, the Ursa remained on top of Cypher trying to drown him. At that moment, Cypher accepted his death and wasn't scared anymore. Because of this, the Ursa couldn't see him and he was able to kill it. Kitai falls asleep listening to the story. The following day, he continues his journey. Halfway through the day, Cypher starts to notice hints of the presence of Ursa in the area. Kitai reaches a tall waterfall, which he will have to cross to reach the destination. Cypher asks him to check his supplies and is disappointed to see that he has only 2 vials of liquid oxygen left. An embarrassed Kitai says he can make it to the tail with just 2, but Cypher asks him to abort the mission. Right then, Kitai gets a flashback of the day his sister Senshi died. An Ursa had attacked their home and, like always, Cypher was on a mission somewhere else. To save her brother's life, Senshi had kept him inside a glass sphere from where the Ursa couldn't smell his fear. That day, Kitai witnessed his sister getting killed in front of him, and to this date, he blames himself for it. Back in the present, Kitai argues with Cypher, claiming that he is not a coward. Cypher tries to calm him, but in the moment of rage, Kitai jumps off the cliff. He uses his suit to guide the direction of his fall. Just when he thinks that he can make it to the bottom, a large bird attacks him and breaks his communicator. Now, Cypher has no way to contact Kitai. A while later, Kitai wakes up in the bird's nest surrounded by its chicks. Before he can get out, all of them are attacked by a group of panthers. The mother bird fights the one on the top of the nest while Kitai fights a panther inside it. By the end of the fight, all of the bird's chicks are dead. As it tries to revive them in frustration, Kitai runs away from the place. Meanwhile, Cypher tries to look for Kitai through his satellite monitors, but instead finds 2 rangers impaled to a tree. The system detects the presence of an Ursa in the area. Unknown to this, Kitai takes rest in a cave for the night. Without his father navigating the way, he has to rely on his memory to reach the tail of the ship. He draws a map on the wall and decides to follow it. The next morning, he continues the journey but is troubled by the same bird following him everywhere. At midday, he has a hard time breathing, so he takes his last vial of oxygen. Then, to reach the tail sooner, he builds a raft from logs and continues his journey. After some time, Kitai falls asleep and dreams of his sister telling him he is close to the destination. He wakes up right before the temperature fluctuation starts and goes around looking for a hotspot. However, without Cypher's help, he is unable to find one. The temperature drops extremely low, and everything around him freezes. Soon, Kitai drops unconscious on the ground and we see something drag him to a warm, safe corner. Kitai wakes up the following morning to see that the bird has saved his life. It had covered him with leaves and twigs, treating him as his chicks. Kitai thanks the bird but notices it is already dead. However, with no time to waste, he moves forward and finally finds the tail of the ship. He finds a vial of liquid oxygen and quickly takes it, which rejuvenates him to some extent. Then, he sees that the Ursa is missing from where it is supposed to be. Kitai gets the beacon and contacts Cypher using the panel in the tail. Cypher, who is only somewhat conscious, is delighted to see his son alive. However, Kitai cannot hear him because of some technical issue. Kitai then tries using the beacon, but it doesn't work due to atmospheric interference. Cypher asks him to try from a different location, but since Kitai cannot hear him, he only gets more frustrated. But after a while, Kitai sees a volcano nearby and decides to try using the beacon from the top of it. However, trouble soon follows when the lost Ursa tracks Kitai and senses his fear. Cypher sees this from the monitor and is worried for him. Kitai, on the other hand, finds out that the creature is following him and starts to run. The Ursa attacks Kitai, but he manages to save himself after jumping into a water body and going up the mountain. Just then, the temperature starts to lower, which freezes Kitai, making him fall to the ground. At the same time, Cypher also falls unconscious because of his injuries. The Ursa approaches Kitai as he thinks of his father's words. He remembers that fear is not real and it's all only in his head. Just then, the creature walks right past Kitai, unable to detect him. He has removed fear from his mind and is now able to ghost the creature. Using his newfound courage, Kitai kills the creature easily. He then uses the beacon to send signals to their rescue team. In the next scene, Kitai is on a rescue ship. He walks forwards as everyone watches him in appreciation. Cypher lies on a bed being treated for his injuries. After seeing his son, he makes the Rangers stand him up and salutes Kitai in a true Ranger fashion. The movie ends after the father and the son hug and the ship takes off for Nova Prime.